We have now had another tweet from Joe Biden on that very matter. I'll read it out, but basically he is now endorsing Kamala Harris. It says, "My fellow Democrats, I've decided not to accept the nomination and to focus all my energies on my duties as president for the remainder of my term."
In this next week, this man shall begin to emerge. And in the following 2 weeks, which is a 3-week period, he shall slowly come to the fore. For they are saying, how do we kill the giant? How do we kill the giant of death? How do we kill the giant of socialism? How do we kill the giant of human secularism? I have placed that man amongst you. And God says, once you recognize the man that I have raised up, pray. For the enemy will do everything in his power to put a witch in the White House. Did anybody hear what he just said? For Jezebel has chased away the prophets and even Elijah. Come on. Now I have said, go back. For this shall be dismantled, so that there will be no more corruption in the White House, says the Spirit.
So that's what you're saying. That's what you're saying. It's playing out. Do you hear that? That's what you're saying. It's playing out. All right. Now, there's an article, actually a video, Fox News. Listen to this. Hannity asked who's really in charge. This is recent. This is just 2 days ago. All right? Who's really in charge? After report on Kamala Harris' foreign policy responsibilities. This is amazing. Listen to the video.
For the Democrats, one if you're a Republican. And according to a new shocking Politico report, Vice President Harris is quickly being prepped to take the foreign policy reins from the Biden administration. Biden is now reportedly encouraging his vice president to engage directly with world leaders. That would be his job. And by the way, even develop her own rapport with U.S. allies. Harris has also been meeting weekly with Secretary of State Antony Blinken. So the question tonight is why? If Joe Biden is not up to the task, well, we know that he rarely appears in public. We know that he takes very few questions. We know he hasn't even scheduled a joint session of Congress for the State of the Union address. This week, he struggled mightily to read off a cheat sheet. It was frankly embarrassing and hard to watch. And we can all see with our own eyes that Joe is frail, he is weak, and yes, he's struggling cognitively. Even a few dozen Democrats now are trying to take away the nuclear codes from Joe Biden so it's not in the hands of just him, one person. They never even tried that with Trump. And as vice president, now holding one-on-one calls with other world leaders. So what's really going on here? Who's in charge?
All right. Who is in charge? I told you already. So the question is already being asked. Now, you know, this is so important. Someone sent me an important video, and I want you to listen to this. It's a prophecy given by William Branham. Now, Branham was an extraordinary minister of the gospel many years ago in the 60s. An amazing minister of the gospel, a prophet. Now listen to a prophecy that he gave about the United States. And listen and think about the things you just heard, what you just saw and heard. Listen to this.
Now, I predicted and said I saw a great woman stand up, beautiful looking, dressed in real highly royal like purple, dressed in real highly royal like purple, dressed in real highly royal like purple. And I got little princess down here. She was a great ruler in the United States, perhaps the Catholic Church. A woman, some woman, I don't know it'll be the Catholic Church. I don't know. I can't say. The only thing I seen a woman. That was all. But this is a woman's nation. This nation is number 13 in prophecy. She's got 13 stripes, 13 stars. She's started with 13 colonists, 13, everything's 13. Appears in the 13th chapter of Revelations even. She's 13 and she's a woman nation. Thus saith the Lord, there'll be a woman loose for the end. She'll either be president, vice president, or it'll be the Catholic Church as a woman. I've seen her a great woman, a nation bow to her. It'll be one before the end time. These three curtains, I say this in the name of the Lord, don't you forget it. There's an iron curtain, a bamboo curtain, and a purple curtain. Watch that purple curtain. Amen. Keep your eye on that. Oh my, how we see now the Antichrist beginning to unfold itself, taking a hold in the nation. Thus saith the Lord. Write it down and find out, you young people. See if it happens. If it isn't, I'm a false prophet.
Interesting. Did you hear what he said? He described the lady that will become, he said, she would either be president or vice president. All right? And described her in purple. Now, at the inauguration, Kamala Harris wore purple. How could William Branham in the 60s help her prepare to wear purple on that day? And he says, this will happen before the end time. Then he said to the young people, watch and see. He said, if it doesn't happen, then I'm a false prophet. He said to the young people, because he knew it will happen in their days. They're the ones who will see it. And that's exactly what has happened. And then he says, we're seeing the Antichrist. Now, he's not calling Kamala Harris the Antichrist. No, he's talking about the work of the Antichrist in preparation at that period. And that this is certainly a major sign, of the last days in association with the work of the Antichrist. Don't say you didn't hear it, you just heard it. This is so important.
We have now had another tweet from Joe Biden on that very matter. I'll read it out, but basically he is now endorsing Kamala Harris. It says, my fellow Democrats, I've decided not to accept the nomination and to focus all my energies on my duties as president for the remainder of my term. My very first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president, and it's been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this. And with that, he has tweeted a picture, as you can see on your screen, of the two of them laughing together, sharing a moment as they walk through the Rose Garden at the White House, is what it looks like. So, David, there we have it. We do now know that Joe Biden is endorsing Kamala Harris. No doubt the first indication of that was the mention of her as his running mate in his statement, saying that he wasn't going to run for re-election and he's withdrawing from the US presidential race. He is endorsing Kamala Harris. It will be interesting, David, what the other Democrats make of that, because there's been mixed reviews on Kamala Harris's term too.
Yes, there has, although her support has been building in the polls also, and I think it will now build significantly given that the president has publicly endorsed her as the substitute to run instead against Donald Trump in November. This is a situation, obviously, that is evolving by the minute, and when he issued his statement, confirming that he was stepping aside. He did not endorse Kamala Harris. We've had to wait for that tweet, but it does change things significantly. I think it does make her the likely candidate. There will be others in the Democratic Party who would feel there should be some sort of open contest, will not want a coronation, will believe there should be some kind of process at their national convention, perhaps in August. But given how ugly the last few days have been for the Democrats, with close to 40 members of Congress, House representatives and senators going public to call for Joe Biden to step aside, and given that some of them have spoken publicly for the very first time about recent engagement with the president and their concerns about his cognitive ability, it is a party in some disarray. And the president in that tweet appears to be doing his very best to draw a line under all of that, to bring the battle within the party, the tug of war that we've witnessed, to an end, and to give Kamala Harris the best possible chance of securing the nomination and ultimately of securing the White House. We shouldn't really be surprised, as she's been a very loyal vice president to him. He also made history by appointing the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court. So he will be very keen that part of his legacy will be to see the first woman elected president in the United States. Of course, all of this comes after so much battle at the heart of the Democratic Party. There were rumours that Joe Biden was hanging on for as long as possible, resisting calls for him to go because of an old grudge. You'll remember back in 2016 when he was overlooked for the nomination and Barack Obama chose to back Hillary Clinton instead. Donald Trump went on to win the White House, and Joe Biden to this day is reported to be unhappy about the fact that he believes Obama and Clinton and people like the former Speaker Nancy Pelosi were the reason Donald Trump ended up in the White House in the first place. And he felt if he had been the candidate back in 2016, then he would have beaten Donald Trump. And that's why he hung on for so long. He continued to feel that he would be the candidate who could beat him again this year. But at the end of the day, he's 81 years of age. Some in his own party have been concerned about his failing health. And then to top it all off, last week he contracted COVID yet again, which made him appear to be in a very fragile position just days after Donald Trump appeared in the strongest possible position, rising from the platform, blood-stained, shouting, "Fight, fight, fight," after he had been wounded in an attempted assassination.